On the 17th and 18th of March 2022, we had an anomaly over the Earth poles.
Here are the details. Earth's poles have been experiencing major heat waves simultaneously, with the Arctic 6 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than the 1979 to 2000 average on Friday, March 18th, and the Antarctic, heading toward its autumn period, about 8.6 degrees warmer according to the University of Maine's Climate Reanalyzer. Individual weather stations in the latter region emphasize the scale of the heat, with the Vostok station recording temperatures around 27 degrees above its all-time record, while the remote research station at Dome C reached around 68 degrees warmer than its average for this time of year since 1990, according to Berkeley Earth lead scientist Robert Rode. In both regions, warm air being transported by strong winds is responsible for the temperature spikes, according to Severe Weather Europe, though an atmospheric river was also a major contributing factor in the eastern Antarctic, according to one climate researcher cited by The Guardian.
And if you read into this event, you will learn that this anomaly was caused by an atmospheric river. Now, what is an atmospheric river? An atmospheric river is a huge band of moisture. And what is this moisture? Moisture is just simply water in the atmosphere. It can be either invisible vapor, liquid droplets, or frozen ice crystals. And when enough of it bunches together, it creates clouds. So, in other words, an atmospheric river is a huge band of thick moisture, aka clouds. And we can find this in the Bible. Let's go there. This is Revelation chapter 1, verse 7, the New King James Version. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye will see him, even they who pierced him. And all the tribes of the earth will mourn because of him, even so, amen. Now I did that. I literally spoken the heat wave into existence. Meaning, on the 11th of March 2022, almost a week before this anomaly took place, I uploaded a video on YouTube in which I prophesied about a drought and a heat wave in Europe for this year. And if you don't believe me, then you can watch the video for yourself because it's still on YouTube and you can check the upload date. I leave a link in the description box. Now people might say everybody can do that, but I say no, for these things happen steadily onto mine own self. There are multiple accounts which I can recall in which I pretty much changed the weather. It's like as if I am holy, as if I am an outlier, an anomaly, an unbalanced equation, a glitch in the matrix.
Why am I here?
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix. You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision.
For example, did you know that we had a record-breaking heatwave in 2003? Now guess what? I was suffering a lot in this year. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. I was shattered and heartbroken back then because I had to learn that I damaged my right corpus cavernosum by using an artificial vagina that I created myself. And as such, I had to look at myself back then in the mirror and I was just simply shattered. Because how should I cope with this as a young man? I was back then 13 or 14 years old. I mean, I had to look into the mirror and I had to realize that my penis looked somewhat deformed. Only many years later did I realize the alignment, the synchronicity, as Carl Jung would say. I remember that this year felt so drawn out. I was spiritually so dried up, as if I were trapped in the flesh and condemned forever. Because there was simply no way back. It meant that I would never really be myself again. Because once the flesh is destroyed, it's destroyed. So yeah, this year was kind of horrible for me. But as we now know, it wasn't only like that for me. Rather, the whole world experienced major heat and drought that year. The world was languishing just like myself and suffering.
It's 35 degrees in Paris, and with temperatures still rising, people are grabbing any opportunity to cool down. And it's not just here. A heat wave has hit most of Europe and is expected to last the week, with temperatures in some parts hitting the 40-degree mark. In Frankfurt, people were making the most of the city's fountains to splash around in the midday heat. In Brussels, too, people headed to local parks to enjoy weather they'd usually have to travel abroad to find. In Moscow, too, people used every opportunity to keep cool. The heat in Russia's capital has lasted several weeks. It was expected to cool off at the end of last week, but so far the heat shows no sign of a let-up. It's the same story in normally cool Britain, but weather forecasters there say there'll be record temperatures too.
So let us see what the AI says. Yes, the 2003 European heatwave was indeed a record-breaking event. At the time, it was the hottest summer recorded in Europe since at least 1540, so for nearly 500 years. While more recent summers, specifically 2022, have since broken some of its temperature records, the 2003 heatwave remains one of the most significant and deadliest climatic events in modern history. And what could be said about the year 2022? If 2003 was the record breaker for the earliest 20th century, then 2022 was the year that rewrote the history books for the 21st. In 2022, Europe experienced its hottest summer on record, surpassing the previous highs of 2021 and the legendary heat waves of 2003. It was a year of compound extremes, where intense heat waves and a multi-month drought collided to create a continental crisis. Let's look at some data points. The 2022 event was more widespread and lasted longer than the 2003 heat wave. By August of 2022, nearly two-thirds of Europe was under some form of drought warning or alert. It has been the worst in 500 years. The European Commission's Joint Research Centre stated that the 2022 drought appeared to be the worst the continent had seen in half a millennium. There was a UK temperature record. For the first time in history, temperatures in the United Kingdom exceeded 40 degrees, a threshold many scientists didn't expect to see reached for several more decades. And lastly, there was a massive fatality count. Despite modern cooling systems and early warning plans developed after 2003, the heat still claimed over 60,000 lives across Europe. So you see now that there were two major heat waves / droughts in the past. One was in 2003 and the other one was most recently in 2022. I claim now that I am tied to these events. For one, I've experienced in the past quite often that major events in the world are somewhat tied to my existence.
That sums up the spirit of a people. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
As if I am in sync with them, and these events usually point towards Yahweh Shai et est, Jesus Christ, or the end of the world. And second, in the past it quite often seemed as if my mental state and mind directly affected the captivity of the earth, it as the sun and the weather. Just look at common images of Jesus Christ and notice how they often depict him as the sun, or sun rays coming out of his head. I just would like to tell you that it is likely true, that our crown chakra is indeed able to be in sync with Mother Nature, and that we are thereby able to see a lightening up on us, a shining when our divinity aligns within the moment. And I tell you so because it happened unto mine own self. For example, you can read Mark chapter 1 verse 10, where the Lord steps out of the water and the heavens open up, meaning the clouds disappear and the sun shines upon him. I've experienced a similar situation, and therefore I know it to be true. This is Mark chapter 1 verse 10. And when Yahweh Shai came up out of the water, immediately he saw the heavens being torn up open, and the Spirit descending upon him like a dove. Now, I don't want to go any further because of the timely limitations that I encounter. But I would like to tell you of another alignment that happened to me in the year of 2022. And I hope it will let you think about it more deeply of what it is that I have said so far. I want you to put yourself into my shoes, into my position, and I want you to imagine if you would have prophesied in the year of 2022, and you would have borne witness of how your prophecy then successively unfolded. If one is looking around, and you could clearly see that the times are changing. I mean, look at that garden. Look at that snow. And we are in April. This is the first day of April. Yesterday was the new moon. I wonder if that is geoengineering. If they try to modify the weather to the opposite of what should be done. Namely, the heat wave that I'm predicting or prophesied about this summer. Because I can tell you that the majority of the people don't even know how the anomaly in March successively started the heat waves. They only noticed that something was wrong months later, as they realized that there was no rain and the sun was exceedingly hot. But not so you, if you were me. You would have seen it from the beginning. The alignment is that I received a prison number in August of 2022. Because the state of Germany persecuted and ultimately arrested myself for reasons that were not justified. But as I looked at my prison number, I saw that I had the number 817, which pretty much means that I was the 817th prisoner that they captured. Now, why is that important? Listen to what the German news said 2 weeks after they arrested myself.
Eine vorläufige Bilanz lässt sich in diesem Spätsommer schon ziehen. Der Sommer dieses Jahr war wohl der sonnenreichste seit Beginn der Wetteraufzeichnung für über 70 Jahre. Man sei nach vorläufigen Zahlen auf 817 Sonnenstunden in diesem Sommer gekommen, so der Deutsche Wetterdienst. Der bisherige Rekord sei im Sommer 2003 mit bundesweit 793 Stunden aufgestellt worden. Ungewöhnlich heiß und trocken war er außerdem mit über 40 Grad, sogar in Hamburg. Wahrscheinlich wird dieser Sommer auch zu den 3 wärmsten seit Beginn der Aufzeichnungen zählen.
And did you realize that the system gave me the same number as then the weather stations reported the sun hours to be during the year of 2022? This is kind of like strange, or not? And I can tell you that such strangeness is not seldomly happening onto mine own self. No, I can look back and I see it often. One of the major alignments that happened onto mine own self was in the year 2012. And my intent is to bring this out. Because I believe it is important, and I believe there's currently a war against the Lamb. And I believe I kind of like represent the Lamb. At least I was like Yahweh Shai in the year 2022. Because I was 33 years old. I've found my own divinity within my own self, but at the same time I had an adversary which attacked myself. And the adversary that is attacking myself is the so-called white man, figuratively for the state of Bavaria, figuratively for Susan Wojcicki, and figuratively also for the modern state of Israel. Because according to this logic, or the Godhead, the one that runs and rules this planet, it is not possible that I am chosen. It is not possible that I might be Jesus Christ. Because according to him, it's a so-called white man. And so there's an adversarial spirit upon this earth which steadily denies my divinity and which literally persecutes myself. That is the reason why I can currently not return to Germany, because if I return to Germany, they're gonna lock me up in prison. And I believe the Godhead, aka the God of this world, is doing this unto mine own self, because he does not want you to know these things about mine own self.